From the founding era onward, there was strong consensus about the centrality of religious liberty in the United States. The imperative of protecting religious freedom was not just a nod in the direction of piety. It reflects the framers' belief that religion was indispensable to sustaining our free system of government. In his renowned 1785 pamphlet, Memorial and Remonstrance Against Religious Assessments, James Madison described religious liberty as a right towards men, but a duty towards the Creator, and a duty precedent, both in order of time and degree of obligation, to the claims of civil society. It has been over 230 years since that small group of colonial lawyers led a revolution and launched what they viewed as a great experiment, establishing a society fundamentally different than anything that had come before. They crafted a magnificent charter of freedom, the United States Constitution, which provides for limited government while leaving the people broadly at liberty to pursue their lives both as individuals and through their free associations. This quantum leap in liberty has been the mainspring of unprecedented human progress, not only for Americans, but for people around the world. In the 20th century, our form of free society faced a severe test. There's always been the question whether a democracy so solicitous of individual freedom could stand up against the regimented totalitarian state. That question was answered with a resounding yes, as the United States stood up against and defeated first fascism and then communism.
Barr talks about America standing up and defeating fascism and communism as a testimony to somehow what religious liberty did in the United States. This is the Attorney General who serves a president who used a bigoted religious test to keep Muslims out of this country, and who called his fellow Roman Catholics, I don't mean Trump, but Barr's fellow Roman Catholics and Pentecostal Christians, people who come from shithole countries, and who are rapists and killers and have to be kept out with a wall because they're brown, actually, in fact, is what Trump's problem was. Rather than being a country that embraces religious liberty, President Trump, who Barr serves and is trying to get reelected with this speech by calling out religious people to vote for him as if somehow only Trump is going to defend their freedoms, has served a presidency that has been anti-religious liberty to a degree that no presidency in this country ever has been, with his bigotry against particular religions, Muslims, but also liberal Christians, Catholic and Protestant, who are affronted by this president. And when he talks about defeating fascism, the fascism that was defeated in Europe had been embraced by Barr's Roman Catholic Church in Germany, where they had made the Heil Hitler sign. There are pictures of the bishops saluting Hitler, and where the Lutheran Church, with a few exceptions, had sold out, where Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a pastor who stood up against Hitler, was murdered, but most evangelical Protestant pastors went along with Hitler. So the very fascism that Barr says America defeated because of its view of religion is a fascism that was put in place by religion in Europe, including the acquiescence of the Pope with fascism, and Mussolini in Italy, Hitler's great ally. And so for Barr to pit religious liberty from a conservative Roman Catholic point of view against America in its time of struggle with fascism is horrible. An honest Roman Catholic or an honest evangelical Christian would stand up and say, mea culpa. My religion sold out the principles of the American Constitution time and again in Europe, and then in America itself with its sympathies with fascism of so many conservative Roman Catholics and conservative evangelical Christians in the World War II era, who often were the backbone of the fascist sympathizers at that time. In the same way that someone from the left would stand up and admit that in the 1930s and 40s, the backbone of American left-wing politics often was that of liberals who were too soft on not just communism, but who lied about Joseph Stalin and what he was doing and covered up the fact of the utter failures on human rights of the left. So the point being here that to pit religious people against secular, secular against religious, as if one or the other had an end run on human rights is ridiculous. The problem is the failings of the human race in general, to which religion is no solution, obviously, if we look at the history.